You are listening to the DOL Pod, brought to you by the Office of Digital and Online Learning at Howard University.
For everyone listening, I'm Dr. Morris Thomas, and I serve as the Assistant Provost for Digital and Online Learning, and also the Director of our Center for Excellence in Teaching, Learning, and Assessment. And I have faculty appointments in the School of Education and School of Business. And so between our Center for Excellence in Teaching, Learning, and Assessment, CETLA, and now Office of Digital and Online Learning, Dr. Capers is a very essential external member of our team. He's an internal university partner, but he works in his own office and runs his own office, but we call on him often for the invaluable information and expertise that he brings to the university community. So with that, Dr. Capers, welcome, and please tell us your official title and more about yourself and what you do here at Howard University.
Yes, Dr. Thomas. First and foremost, thank you for inviting me to the podcast. As stated, my name is Dr. Miguel Capers. I am the Testing and Accommodation Coordinator here at Howard University. And essentially, my job is to assist all students here at Howard University with testing, academic, and housing accommodations. These accommodations are here to provide assistance to students across Howard University's campuses, including our graduate programs with accommodations and access to the curriculum here at Howard University.
Tell us a little bit about your path to this particular role and how you kind of come to become an expert in accessibility and accommodations and inclusive learning environments and inclusive campuses in general, not just the classroom, but co-curricular as well.
Yes. Me, myself, I am a student with disabilities, well, an individual with disabilities. And so my journey started at a very young age, learning about myself, such as having a speech impediment, learning disability, and going to college. And it was, I would say, self-discovery to learn more about myself. And that led into my role as a special education teacher in the state of Texas, where I provided special individualized education to students across the state of Texas. Worked in Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas until I found my way to Georgetown University, where I started providing services to students in higher education who identified with disabilities. And that ultimately led me to here at Howard University, where I do the same thing, providing accommodations and addressing accessibility issues for students who identify as disabled.
Well, thank you for providing that context and also for being so transparent and talking about your own journey. I was not aware. That really speaks to the work you do, and I'm sure as to why you are making sure our campus community and our learning community as a whole has the services needed. So we are here in what's called National Distance Learning Week, and we are talking specifically about the connections and intersections between artificial intelligence and online learning specifically. But we're open to I know that a lot that deals with accessibility involves digital tools and technology. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to help us to learn and grow in this environment. First question I would like to ask you around accessibility in AI is, I want to know, how would you describe the intersection of artificial intelligence and accessibility, specifically when thinking about the online learning modality?
Very good question. So in my opinion, AI has the potential to revolutionize accessibility and online learning by providing a personalized and adaptive learning experience. And so, for example, AI can analyze students' learning styles and needs and then tailor content to fit those requirements. And this can ensure that all students, regardless if they have a disability or not, have equal access to the educational resources.
And so with that, how would you describe the challenges and opportunities that might be presented by AI in creating inclusive learning environments?
I will definitely say the benefits outweigh the challenges. So, one of the main challenges is ensuring that AI systems are designed with inclusivity in mind. And so that's ensuring that individuals with disabilities have a seat at the table. And so, when we're looking at accessibility and AI, we have to make sure that we are getting data from our disabled community, but not just our disabled community, but our disabled community who are Black and Brown as well. As far as for the opportunities, AI can offer real-time support, such as speech to text for our hearing impaired students, or even text to speech for those who are visually impaired.
And those particular assistive technologies are not really novels. Isn't that true? Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes. So, like when we think about Siri's and Alexa, those are technologies that we use every day. So, not even as individuals who have disabilities. Individuals who are non-disabled use Siri's and Alexa at home, at work. I use Siri all day, and so yes, a lot of times when we think about assistive technology, yes, this initially is made for individuals who have disabilities, but at the same time, it benefits everyone.
And that's great to hear because we're thinking about inclusive learning environments. And so some of the tenets I know of universal design for learning, which has the three principles of multiple means for representation, engagement, and expression. Part of the thought is to be proactive in creating these environments and experiences that already have these accessibility aspects built in the forefront as opposed to as reactionary, and it's not necessarily just about regulations or compliance, but it's about the environment being inclusive. So that's great to hear. I use the read aloud feature for that's embedded into Microsoft Word, for instance, and that's not due to a documented disability, but that's just to help to access content in a manner that I prefer. So that's great to hear about that. Do you, so you've already provided some examples about how AI can enhance accessibility in online courses, and really across modalities, it seems like. So when you think about accommodations and best practices, what are some typical accommodations that Howard University provides to students with disabilities? And how do you ensure these accommodations are adequate and appropriate?
So, as mentioned earlier, we provide testing, academic, and housing accommodations. And so, for example, when we're looking at academic accommodations, so we provide students with extended time, note taking, sign language interpreters, for example. And the way that we ensure that these accommodations are adequate, we do this by regularly consulting with students to understand their needs. And so, one thing about the accommodation process, it is a interactive process between our office and the students. And to me personally, that is my favorite part because that's how we as an office determine, what we're doing as best practices. And so by staying updated on best practices and accessibility and getting feedback from students is crucial. And not only that, it's a necessary adjustment for making improvements within our office.
That's great to hear that you all are engaging the students and the learners and getting that feedback so that, as you mentioned, we can have the notion of continuous improvement put into play and into action, which is so key in our higher education environment. So thinking along that vein, what would be some best practices for faculty to use in creating accessible online particular courses and making sure that these learning experiences are accommodating our learners with disability, particularly the learners with disabilities?
Very good question. So faculty members can adopt several best practices. So off the top of my head, I will definitely say it's beneficial for professors to use clear and precise language in course materials for students who have difficulties reading and processing information. Also, ensuring all multimedia content has captions and transcripts. We have a lot of students who are visually impaired, and so closed captions and transcripts definitely benefit those students. And also, we have ensuring that course layouts are easy to navigate as well. And I would say, lastly, providing materials in multiple formats can also benefit students, given that students learn differently and that there are different learning styles.
I'm happy that you provided those, and I do want to assure you that our learning design and quality assurance team here at the Office of Digital and Online Learning does utilize those practices in the courses that we have oversight, and we do try to spread that information to faculty who are officially teaching in the online environment. So that is great that we have that confirmation from your office that we are on the right track. So I want to kind of think forward thinking. What would you say as some things that either you've seen from the research or in your work, in your practice, or just your own information, either anecdotally, as to what are some of the future of accessibility and AI in higher education? What do you see as being on the horizon?
I will say we can definitely expect more advanced AI tools that offer personalized learning experience. And not only that, but AI that is tailored to the individual needs of individual disabilities. In addition to AI being likely to play a significant role in creating more inclusive and adaptive learning environments, making sure that education is more accessible to everyone. Also, innovations like real time translations, AI driven tutoring systems, and even enhanced accessibility features in educational software.
When you mentioned about new tools and you specifically talked about personalized learning is something that has been discussed at all educational levels and been more readily discussed at the higher education level, but met with some resistance. But I'm hearing that as a theme as we talk about artificial intelligence. Can you talk about why personalized learning is essential to all learners, but particularly learners with disabilities?
So if we are like, for example, when you mentioned universal design learning, if we're going to truly create classrooms that address the needs of all students, not just students with disabilities, we have to meet students where they are, and we have to realize that not all students are the same, and so therefore the way that we provide information, the way that we teach our classes, there has to be some individualization there to make sure that we are providing information that's going to reach all the students. And as I said earlier, not all students learn alike. So having personalized AI or even AI that adapts or adjusts itself to materials based off of the learning styles of the student, I think that will go a long way in making sure that lessons are individualized, but not only that, but that students honestly and truly grasp the information that is being taught.
And being a person and from your background, from personally experiencing the education system with documented disabilities, and then now being a professional and a leader in this space, and I would even go as far as say an expert in this space, how do we continue to promote awareness and advocacy for accessibility in higher education?
So, promoting awareness and advocacy for accessibility in higher education requires a multifaceted approach, to say the least. First, institutions should offer regular training and workshops on accessibility and best practices for both faculty and staff members. Also, creating a culture of inclusivity where students, and not only students, but students, staff, and faculty members feel comfortable sharing their needs is essential. And third, collaborating with organizations, so such as what we're doing now, right? can provide valuable insights and resources. And I would say, lastly, continuously updating policies and technologies to reflect the latest in accessibility standards will definitely help maintain progress.
Well, I want to ask another question before you wrap up around systemic barriers such as socioeconomic disparities and institutional biases, and how these things impact access to technology and online learning for students with disabilities from diverse communities. What has been your experience, or what have you noticed or seen regarding systemic barriers?
So I would say limited financial resources being one of the major things. And that alone can prevent access to online learning within itself. So, such as individuals who can't afford high speed internet or the necessary devices or technology needed for the online courses. And I will also say, even go on the limb and saying institutional bias. So, a lack of tailored support and resources can further hinder the educational experience of our students with disabilities, both online and in person.
How can we ensure that our approaches to accessibility and AI are culturally sensitive and inclusive of diverse perspectives?
I would say the biggest thing is, once again, to make sure that the individuals in which we are creating AI for have a seat at the table. I would say that's the biggest thing. A lot of times when we're looking at AI and the creation of different AI tools, yes, we may have individuals with disabilities who may be at the table, but once again, they are not Black and Brown individuals with disabilities. And I think it's safe to say that individuals who are Black and Brown experience disabilities differently than individuals who are not. And as such, there should be technology in place to ensure that, one, they have equal access to the same resources, but two, that their views and perspectives are included in what's being developed.
Is there any other important things that you want to raise for the listening audience to be aware of as we consider using and further adopting AI?
I would say the biggest thing is not to be afraid, but embrace change. I know that there definitely has been some hesitation surrounding the use of AI, especially in higher education, such as ChatGPT, and of course, raising issues as it relates to students who may be cheating. That may be the case in some situations, but we also have to weigh the pros of AI and how AI can truly assist not only our students with disabilities in higher education, but assist all students in higher education when it comes to access. And so when we're talking about Grammarly, right? Yes, it can be utilized for individuals who have dyslexia or specific learning disabilities, but Grammarly is also beneficial to other individuals who may need help with grammar and text. And so you also have AIs like Perplexia, which is a search a search AI, and those within itself can be integrated into resources like Canva and be a great tool to help students gain more information about a topic without it being perceived as cheating. And so I definitely want to say that, AI is it's here and it's here to stay. It's currently, I know on my end, it's currently embedded in almost everything that I see, from social media to even just, I remember the other day I was calling my credit card company. And so now instead of chatting with a real person, you're chatting with AI. And so AI is here to stay. And so once again, it's making sure that the right people are at the table to make sure that we don't have data deserts, and also making sure that everyone is aware of, the benefits of AI. And so once again, training, the resources, and we cannot forget the budget to make sure that we have the money to purchase these resources so that we're also on the same playing field as other universities such as Stanford and Harvard who are purchasing and, leading the way in AI technology. And I love the fact that Howard University has already started and has already invested the money, but we want to definitely make sure that we are investing the money for individual disabilities as well. So that way that we're making sure that all students have equal access to these materials.
Absolutely. No, that makes sense that we have to align our resource allocation and materials and practices with those that are going to be supportive of our learners with disabilities and of environments that are just inclusive for all students, whether they have documented disabilities or not. So that's great. Thank you so much for providing us with such rich considerations for AI and accessibility and AI in the online learning context. We are very thankful for that. Anything you want to share with us in the listening office about anything exciting coming out of your office? Any new initiatives?
Yes, we are looking to start a neurodivergent center for students who identify as dyslexia, ADHD, autism, the whole 9 yards, to create a safe space for these students to not only learn about what is, to be neurodivergent, but also to have a safe space to come and to share with other students who are in a similar situation here at Howard University. So that is one of the biggest things that we're trying to launch now, in addition to Disability Week in the spring. And so just a week dedicated to making sure that the campus is aware of our disabled community, but also the resources that are here on campus as well.
That's awesome. My only ask is make sure we think about our online learners as well as you are launching that neurodiversity center. That's awesome. And so, again, we thank you for your expertise and your time for contributing to our conversation around AI and its intersections with online learning. Thank you so much, Dr. Capers.
Thank you.